cycle of building project. So then it came. It came as BIM in cloud. So now, which what we call it as CDE, that is Common Data Environment. So more we'll be talking on this. Next slide, which we will be talking on, would be more like the key challenges as an architect or as a designer we face throughout. So there's 4 points which briefly says that disconnected or analog challenge is the front end flow of data, which we face throughout the process of the construction, throughout the process of the design to the execution. Then there's this fragmented workflow, which is information loss, leading to omission, and the for the we actually miss distributed. Then there's the distributed siloed team, which is also one of the factor which need to be considered. So as a project team are often geographically distributed between the architects, engineers, construction firms, etc. Additional to the capital project across an organization, maybe distributed geographically, so which have a impact on the data transmission, or transparency, the lack of transparency, you can say. The data is not properly maintained throughout the stakeholder, which causes to the project delivery, delays in project deliveries.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Purnima.
About what
And
is BIM has to be done.
jumping on to what is BIM. So, BIM is basically building information modeling. And many of you must have heard about what is BIM, and even Shreyas was mentioning it. So, BIM is used to design and document building infrastructure design. Every single detail is modeled in BIM so that it can be used to create, explore, reiterate design options for analyzation, visualization, and documentation. BIM lets stakeholders basically see a prototype of the building to be constructed. And BIM is basically now the future of architecture, design, and infrastructure, being the digital transformation in the recent times. Coming down to why is BIM and what are the benefits? It has greater cost predictability, improved schedules, fewer errors, optimized design, and better understanding. BIM basically captures all data in one model, and it is easy to retrieve elevation, sections, plan, and other detailed drawings of the model. It helps different stakeholders efficiently collaborate to make changes while keeping documentation in check and highlighting clashes to minimize risk and improve accuracy. Now, coming down to how Revit helps in BIM. Now, BIM is basically the field, and Revit is a tool, is a BIM tool. So, talking about Revit here, Revit is basically the anchor tool in the AEC collection, which is the architecture, engineering, and construction collection, which helps basically in modeling of the prototype of the building. There are countless stats such as these which captures how moving to a BIM process creates a discrete value. One of my favorite cites a minimal increase in upfront costs of about 2% to optimize design that leaves an average life cycle saving of 20% on total costs. This is a crucial point architects can highlight to their owner clients who may be hesitant at their fee. And this is also by feature how large to mid-size architects distinguish themselves from their competitors. Uh, Now we'll have a look into the basic workflow of Revit and Abhishek would guide you on the details of Revit.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Purnima. I'll just share my screen. It's a quick depiction or a short video on what BIM is actually. So I'll just share my screen. So I hope the screen is visible.
No, sir. Now visible.
Is it visible? Okay, thank you.
These days, a growing number of architects, engineers, and contractors are using BIM. And here's why. Global trends are making AEC projects more complex, while advances in technology are helping industry professionals work more efficiently and effectively. This is where BIM comes in. BIM is an intelligent model-based process that connects AEC professionals so they can more efficiently design, build, and operate buildings and infrastructure through BIM, or Building Information Modeling. With BIM, designers create digital 3D models that include data associated with physical and functional characteristics. The power of BIM is how it allows architects, engineers, and contractors to collaborate on coordinated models, giving everyone better insight into how their work fits into the overall project, ultimately helping them to work more efficiently. The data in a model defines the design elements and establishes behavior and relationships between model components. So when an element in a model is changed, every view is updated, with the new change appearing in section, elevation, and sheet views. You can use the information in the model to improve your design before it's built. Gain faster buy-in and approvals with realistic visualizations. Convey design intent to the field. And, most importantly, retain model intelligence from concept to construction. BIM provides insight into a design's constructability, improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the construction phase, and also providing a better understanding of the building's future operations and maintenance. Owners can use BIM for predictive maintenance, asset tracking, and facilities management, and for future renovation or deconstruction projects. When you work with BIM, you'll experience reduced project risk, improved timelines and cost savings, and better project outcomes. And the power of BIM is growing with cloud-connected technologies that let project teams design and work together in all new ways. Driven by global trends, the AEC industry is in a time of transformation. Businesses that want to win more work, deliver projects more efficiently, and design better buildings need a powerful solution. And that solution is BIM.
Okay, so we can, I think, start with the agenda. So hello everyone, I am Abhishek and I'm a BIM specialist here at Capricorn Technologies, and I'll be taking the Revit session today. And just before starting, I would like to tell you that Revit is a design authoring tool, and with the help of Revit, we are going to achieve the entire process of BIM. So in Revit, today we'll have a value discussion, and we'll cover the basic modeling techniques like columns, beams, then walls, doors, windows. Apart from that, we'll focus on a few presentation drawings, some basic dimensions, and some materials, apart from how the presentation plan looks, that we'll do with the help of visibility graphics. Then we'll go for quantity takeoff, wall, door, window schedules will also be discussed, and a bit about the rendering and cloud rendering facility in Revit. And after we have done Revit, we'll go for BIM 360 Docs overview. It is a software like a drive space, specifically designed for the AC industry and AC professionals. And there, apart from just storing our files, we'll be able to do a lot more, like marking some clouds, etc. So we'll discuss all of this in the next like 75 minutes. So what does Revit give? So it gives a coordinated model, it gives a consistent model, it gives a computable model. How is it coordinated? whenever we are doing any coordination with other consultants, so Revit has the facility of actually linking the files together, and therefore we'll be able to have a coordinated model. We have the facility for work sharing as well. Apart from that, it will be consistent because in one view, if we make any changes, then all the other views will take up all the other changes. So therefore, we just need to make one change and the entire drawing will change. Therefore, we are actually saving on a lot of time and reducing rework. How is it computable? It is computable because we are able to calculate some schedules, and we are also able to do some analysis and then compute the value and then finally design accordingly. So therefore we'll get clarity, continuity, and agility with this. We'll have a single coordinated model. We call it the single source of truth. If we compare it with the 2D workflow, then we used to have multiple files with us. But right now we are going to have one single file, and then in that file, we'll have multiple views. Change management becomes easy because again, if we do it once, then in all the other views, this will change automatically, and therefore we'll minimize the errors and omissions as well, therefore saving a lot of time in the working drawing process also. We can visualize and design in 3D, and of course the 3D is also synchronous with it, and this is one of the renders which Revit has the capacity to take out. And apart from the render of internal render of Revit, we have the cloud rendering facility from Autodesk as well. And of course, any change we make to the model and then render again, it will definitely take up those changes. So siloed information is actually negated in this process. So we can enhance the documentation quality also with Revit. That's because again, change management is easy. Apart from that, it is not just a bunch of text and dimensions. It is basically intelligent, and we have something called tagging also. So every element will have a specific kind of tag. And when we tag that element, we'll be able to see that tag in all the views, and similarly, mistakes will also be avoided. Apart from that, we can have all kinds of discipline modeling over here, and we can minimize the cost of changes because collaboration becomes easy with Revit, and coordination is also very easy with Revit. It will automatically generate schedules whenever we have any kind of element in Revit. Then the schedules will automatically be generated with a few clicks of the mouse, and it will be a category specific schedule. It can be a material specific schedule, and it can also be a general quantity takeoff. And of course, whenever we are generating schedules, we can do it level wise. We have the option to do it phase wise, and it will, anything you change in the schedule, it will reflect automatically on the drawings also. So it's not just a single way process that you change the drawing and the schedule is changed. You can change the schedule and the drawings can also be changed accordingly. Again, this photorealistic rendering capacity is there in Revit. It has an extensive content library. If you have the content, you can definitely download it from some place, or it's always good to model your own families for the specific kind of requirement which you or your firm has. And then you can put it in your model, and then you can quantify based on this also. Its interoperability with DWG format is very good. So you can, it's a to and fro process. You can take import or link a CAD file over here. You can export it also. And apart from that, we have IFC formats also, which will support the other softwares as well. And how it basically works is that there is one model, and from that model, all the views are pulled. And therefore, if you make any change to this model, all the views will also change. So suppose there's a door, if we make changes to that door, then it will be changed across all of the things. And collaborative design means the same, that we pull out all the views and then put it in the sheets. We can also go for construction sequencing using Navisworks after the model has been made. And if we make a phase-wise model, then we'll be able to see some of the partial constructed model as per phase also. So we call them phase filters. We can apply the filters and see it accordingly here. And then finally, when we take it to Navisworks, that's another Autodesk tool for achieving BIM, then we'll be able to actually see that how the construction process is taking place. We have good capacity in Revit to do structural detailing, rebar, steel connections. They make it a good tool for structural consultants as well. And of course, once we are through with our quantity takeoffs, we can definitely put in some costs and then go for a BOQ extraction as well. We can phase wise also calculate all the materials, and we can also phase wise calculate all the schedules. And accordingly, the totals of the values change whenever we are changing anything in the phase. Clash detection in Revit is also possible, but we prefer to do it with Navisworks or BIM 360. But in Revit, it has a capacity to do clash detection, so that the site, whenever you take it to the site, before that only we are able to find out the faults and then correct them. Of course, Revit is actually nowadays being used from the construction design to the field execution phase, but in the operations, we require more inputs from other BIM tools. For example, right till the field execution, we can have a Revit. But again, if we just break it down into smaller parts, then we have another software called Format, which will be used for conceptual modeling. We have Navisworks for clash detection, construction sequencing. Then we have other softwares like Recap, Green Building Studio, and Simulation CFD for energy analysis. We have Advanced Steel for structural engineering. Then we have, of course, AutoCAD, which acts as a subsidiary tool. But then the workflow of AutoCAD is a bit different for this. Now, the last part is that whenever we are talking about a BIM model, we have something called LOD, that is level of development. And we have from LOD 100 to LOD 600. And based on what our requirement is, we'll be able to model according to one of the LODs and then present to our whoever we want to present to, boss, client, etc. And we'll be able to specify that what we have done. So without spending more time on the PPT, I'll just jump directly into Revit. And again, let's keep it interactive. You can stop me anytime. Anybody has any doubts regarding anything, then you can stop me. We can have a discussion, then I'll continue again. So now when we have Revit open, so I'll be able to go to models. I'll click on new, and then I'll select a proper template. So a template is required for start point of a project. So whenever we have a start point of a project as a template, we'll look at two things. First, the imperial or metric, that is the units. And secondly, we look at the discipline. So here the templates are like metric architectural template. Then we have imperial architectural template. We have some systems template for MEP. We have structural template. We have coordination template. So once we are through with all these templates and we know which template to use, then we can start the model. So for starting the modeling, initially in AutoCAD, what we used to do is we used to go for columns, then walls, then doors and windows, and then we used to send it to the structural consultant. The structural consultant then gave feedback on the beams and the sizes of the column with analysis in some software, and then they used to send us back. But here, since it is modeling and not just drafting, we need to do some structure work also along with it, because then we'll not have the reference for walls if we don't do that. So I'm going to go for column. So we can easily put in columns, vertical columns or slanted columns. And right now there is this I section loaded. I just need to load a family. So a family is basically a smart component in Revit. I'm going to access the Autodesk library, which is with the installation of Revit. And then I'm going to go for structural columns. In structural columns, I can just select the concrete part and then go for M concrete rectangular column and then click on open. Once I've opened it, I can just place the column on the screen with a few settings, which I need to correct. And then I can just place it like this. I can place it like this, and then I can place it like this. Of course, we may also have a CAD plan for reference so that these columns are exactly located where we want them to. And the other workflow would be to place some grids and then place some columns. So suppose we want to place the grids first and not the columns. Then I can just click on GR, that is the shortcut for grid. And I'll be able to select the line and then specify which grid. So now since I'm placing the second grid, you are able to see that how much distance it is from the first one. And the grids are also very smart. So if I do the grid as 1, it will say 2 and 3. But here, if I just go for A, then it will say the next grid is B. It will not take the same value for 2 grids. If I just change this again back to A, okay, this had to be capital A, then it will give me an error that the name already exists in use. So these are smart elements, and I can just, write this as some other letter. The good part about this is that we have already seen the grids. Now we can directly place the columns. So I'm going to do it for one level first, then we'll create more number of levels, and then we are going to place the we are going to place the other columns. So first, let me go to the column, structural column, and I can just place it at the intersection of the grids. So I'm just going to place it somewhere like this. So it is taking the intersection of the columns, and these are the columns which I have placed. Easily I can go from shaded mode, and when I'm looking at it in the 3D view, I see that all the columns have come up. So I'm using a split view mode, split screen mode. And whenever I'm in the split screen mode, when I select on one column, you'll see that that column is, or any object for that instance, that object becomes blue. So that means we know which column we are editing. The good part about columns is that if we change the grid later on, the columns also move with the grids. And you see that the change management is so efficient that on the right hand side, all the columns are also shifting over here. And we can of course give a specific dimension for this. Once we are done, now we would like to place some beams, right? So I'm going for the superstructure construction, and this way we'll be easily doing this. So now I'm going to go for beam. Again, beam is purely a structural element. It is not in the architecture tab. So therefore I can just select the structure tab and then go for beam option. And here again, I see that the I section is loaded. Again, this is dependent on the template which we are using. If we are using a metric architectural template, which comes with the Autodesk installation of Revit, then we need to load the family. Suppose we are in the structural template, then we'll have more number of options which are already loaded inside. So I'm going to go here, select the structural framing, and then go to concrete, and then directly select this and then open. Now the thing with beams is that whenever I'm in the level, I'll be able to put that beam in the floor level of that level. So basically if I'm in level 1, then I draw the beams, it would be the plinth beams instead of the beams which are up. So if I want to draw the beams which are on the second level, then I need to select the second level and then start the modeling. So again, I'll select the beam, and I can go from the center of one column to the center of the other column. And again, I can go from the center of one column to the center of the other column. So it's essential that we go from one point to the other instead of going through and through. So once we have done this, I see that all the beams have come up over here. I can select each one of the beams, and I see that because the beams are larger than the column, and therefore this has exceeded the column area or the column surface. So I can easily select all the beams. So how do I do that? I can select this beam, right click. I can select all instances visible in the view, and then I can directly reduce the size. So it's that easy that in one view I have done this, and in the other views it has automatically happened. I'm going to change a few settings over here so that I'm able to see the beam. Right now I'm being able to see the beam, but all of this beam is actually faded out. So I'm not being able to select this. I'm only being able to select the grids. But I need the beams to align to the outer edge of the column, or I need the column to come forward. So how do I do that? For that, I'm going to go to view range, and I'm just going to do some settings changes so that the beams are visible now. And I'll just select this and lock, select this and lock. Ideally, it should have been the other way around, because I would want the center of the grids to be at the center of the beams. So we have to do it like this, and you see that the same thing is happening in 3D, what I'm displaying on the 2D. And once I'm through with this, maybe I need a center beam also, then I can just click on this beam and make another beam with the help of create similar, and then I can just click here. So I made the beams, I made the columns. I haven't yet made the plinth beams, so that I can do. And I can now model the floor also. So let's model the floor first, and then we'll go for the other thing. So for this, I need to go to architecture tab or structure tab. And for slabs, we have the option for structural floor. When I go for floor structural, I'll be able to just pick the rectangle option or pick lines option, and then I'll be able to draw a floor in between the beams. And then we have to take the inner line of the beams. So I'm going to click on tick. It is saying that it is a 150 mm generic floor. I need to make it over here also. If we are confused as to which one has the floor, so we can just go for shaded view, and then I can just create similar, and then again, I'll be able to just draw this over here and then click on tick. So again, if you have any doubts, any clarifications you want, you can just stop me and then ask. All these things are annotative. So what happens is these grids are looking too large for a 2-room set. So if we want to change the scale, then we can change the scale and automatically the grid sizes and the grid bubbles will reduce. So all the annotative properties are shown over here, and it is very efficient for management of changes. So once we have the entire framing structure complete, we would want this to probably be on the ground floor as well. For that, I need to select, or maybe I'll select it in a better way. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to filter out which I do not want. So suppose I don't want the structural columns. I just want to copy the floor and the beams to the plinth level or level 1. So then I can select everything. I can go to copy to clipboard, paste, align to selected levels, and I have level 1. So I'll paste it over here. So now we have a kind of structure which is a framed structure. So yeah, someone raised a hand, I believe.
Yes, sir. Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you.
No problem, sir.
Yeah, I am Kumar Abhishek, sir.
Yes.
I am asking that, sir, how to put material in the column, sir, like
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So we can select the column. So right now, if you're seeing, there is some kind of hatch in the column already. So that hatch means that the material has already been put, and rightly so. In the left hand side in the properties palette, you are seeing that the structural material for this column is concrete cast in place. So we can just select this. There is this invisible button over here. If we click, then the material editor opens up. And if you want to change this to concrete cast in situ or any specific kind of concrete which you want, so there are various grades of concretes available over here. So like if I just scroll down, you see that all these grades are available over here, and you can also make your own material, or if you want, you can just go with the materials which you have. So let's say we want to go for cast in situ. It's already there, and I'll click on OK. And now this column specifically is cast in situ concrete, and this will look a bit different because it does not have the hatch which these columns have. So we have a realistic view also in Revit. So materials are good when we visualize it in the realistic view. So I'll just go for realistic over here. And then probably we'll be able to see the difference between these two views. So this is kind of a grayish concrete, and this is the kind of concrete which we are more used to seeing on sites, a bit greenish tinge. So again, all of this is the property of the material asset, and then finally the material which we have applied. So does that solve your query?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I'll continue then. So what I can do is I can easily match properties MA with this, and then again the same column is ready for us to use. Now we require some walls. So if I go to the level 1, then I'll be able to sketch some walls. But again, I need to see the beams over here. So for that, I'm going to increase this, and I can again go for this. And when I want to make the walls, it's very simple. I can go to the architecture tab, select the wall option, and then I can do some settings in the wall, like which level do I want it to go to? How much do I want the top offset to be? As in, if I draw the wall directly from level to level, there will be an overlap between the beam and the wall. So I want the wall to end at the bottom face of the beam. So for that, I just need to go for minus 450 mm maybe. There are other options also like join geometry, but as per the time constraint, I'm going to explore this option only with you. So I'm going to change the location line of the wall, and then I'm just going to draw the wall like this. Of course, we should maybe see the beams also because only the floors are showing. So what changes I'm doing is in the view range. So view range is something which is how we see the plan in any plan view. So whether we are able to see the elements which are going below the level, whether we are able to see the elements which are cutting above the level. So those kind of changes can be done with the help of view range, which I just did. So if I select the wall, I'll be able to just place the walls from here to here, from one column to the other. We can of course go for a through wall also, as in we can also take the wall from here up till here. But I would try to avoid that. That is because we need to do some extra effort so that this column and this wall, the extra overlap which is there, will reduce, or we have to separately cut this portion of the wall. So it's called join geometry. You can go to the modify tab and then join this geometry with the help of this. But I personally like to avoid this. So again, now we see that I have taken probably a wrong offset. That is because there is some overlap between the beam and the walls. So this overlap between the beam and the walls is because of this 450 mm offset. If I select the beam, then I'll be able to see that how much is the depth of the beam. So the depth of the beam is 600. So ideally my walls should also have been minus 600 from the top offset. And once I'm ready with this, I can also select this one, right click, select all instances visible in this view, and then just go for a standard top offset of minus 600. Now, as we see this plan, I'll draw the other walls also. So as we see this plan is actually looking very gray, dull, or you can also say boring. So how do we fix this? So presentation drawings in Revit is very easy. And in fact, we should fix this from the beginning only, if possible. But if not possible, then also we are able to fix it later on. So how do we fix this, as in how do we add colors? There are two ways. The first way would be to add some materials like we did for the column. So I can easily go to the wall properties. I've used a 200 mm wall. If you want, you can just edit the thickness also. But let's stick with 200 mm for this demonstration. And I'll go to edit. Inside that, we have a material option. So the material which was available in the properties palette for the column and beam, it is available in the material section in inside of edit type. So if I click here, then I'll be able to go to brickwork or brick. So you have this brick common. It will have a brick kind of a hatch also. And it will also have a brick hatchwork in the plan. So when I apply it, then you'll see that we are able to see this thing, the brick hatch over here. And somehow if we are not able to see this, then we may again go and then change the detail level. So there's something called detail level where we were in coarse and we could have done medium. We could also have done fine. Now, once all our walls are put, we would need doors and windows. But just before putting that, I would want to explore some of the line weights, and then we'll correct it later on. So if you look at this column and wall junction, in this default template, there is something called line weight. So we have thin lines and thick lines. We'll be able to switch on the line weight. But to our surprise, the column line weight is lesser than the wall line weight. We don't want that. We want them to be equal, or maybe the column should be having a bigger line weight. So we'll fix that later on. Right now, I want to add some doors and windows. So if I just go for door, DR is the shortcut. So again, Revit has prompted me to save the project. I'm going to save this project as demo project. And there are options to set the number of backups which Revit will create. So in CAD, we used to have only one backup. And even in SketchUp, we have one backup. So but here in Revit, we have multiple number of backups. So I can just click on OK, and then I can click on save, and the file will be saved. And each time we hit save, there will be one backup created. So you may see 001, 002, 003 against the name of the model. Now, when we want to create doors, it's actually very simple, because you just need to go to the architecture tab, select the door option, and then specify the kind of door which you want. So right now I see that these dimensions are actually not as per mm. So they have been converted directly from imperial, and therefore we are finding these dimensions to be a bit odd. So instead of 2100, we have 2134. To change this, we can just go to edit type, and we can duplicate this element so that we do not end up changing the original one. So we'll duplicate the element. I'll say that this door is a 900 mm door by 2100 mm door. And when I click on OK, I'll need to actually change this. So this was just the name. I need to actually change the height to 2100, and I need to change the width to 900. And once I'm done with this, when I just place the door on the wall, automatically a chunk of the wall will disappear, right? So this is a 900 mm door. Again, if I select this, I can place this. So door is basically a host based family. When we say a host based family, that means it requires a host to be placed on. If there is no host, then there is no door. So we have a door over here, I believe. And this is the exterior side. So therefore we were able to see some other graphic. So here we have a door, and this door will actually have some properties, of course, material properties, then level properties. And this door is actually placed over here. And if I select this door, it will tell me that this is this door. And if I delete it from this portion, the portion of the wall also gets recreated, you can say. So I'll hit Control Z. We have the door like this. We'll put in a few more doors, right? So I see that this is a 900 by 2100 door. This door is also the same door. I can go for maybe placing some more doors. Let's take some other size, maybe this one. Maybe this one this time. And we can also go for double doors. So if I load the family for double doors, similarly, like I loaded the families for beams and columns, I'll be able to load the families for doors as well. So in doors, I have a lot of options for double door. Maybe this one we require flush panel. So I'll see which type of door it is. So this is telling us that how many types do we want. So if I select these, click on OK, then all the doors will be loaded. And once the doors are loaded, I'll be able to place this double door anywhere I want. So now since we have placed our doors, we have placed our floors, we have placed our walls, it's time for windows. So when I click on window, or the shortcut is WN, this is the window. Then I'll be able to again select from a huge range of windows which Revit has to offer us. And then after selecting one of them, I'll be just able to put these windows over here. And maybe I'll select the size, separate size. Now the thing is, whenever we are going to give a presentation view, then we are going to directly go for a tool called visibility graphics. So at that point of time, everything will be overridden, and then these portions which you see as in red, you can override that so that this becomes white and the other portion becomes hatched in red. So all of these things are possible. So the good part about Revit is that simultaneously all the drawings are being made. So what do I mean by all the drawings? I mean that the section is being created, the plan is being created, the details are being created. The only thing which we need to do is annotations. That is dimensioning and texting and tagging. So what we can do is we can, at any point of time, if you want to have a reference, we can click on the section option here in the quick access toolbar, and then we can directly cut a section through maybe the two doors. And then I can directly hit on this, and you see that the section is almost ready. I'm saying almost because we need to model the lintels also. We need to go for a finished floor also. And of course, since this section is ready, we can directly now work on the section. So I've clicked on shaded now, and you are able to see a shaded view of the section. But the problem is that the beam and the floor have different materials. So this actually does not have a material as of now. So we need to make the material of this and the material of this common. So for that, I use a very quick technique that I just copy this material, and then in the floor, we can just edit it and then go for edit and then just paste the material over here. So it's quicker, it's fast, and we'll be able to have a seamless joinery in Revit also. So let me just check. Yeah, so this is done, but this is probably still gray. That is again because of the detail level. So if you go to medium, it will become seamless like the sections we are used to looking in 2D drawings also. And once we have done this, we can now just go for applying some rooms. So in any kind of presentation drawing, it becomes essential that we apply rooms and write which room this is. So the name of the room needs to be specified. And then finally, the dimensions also need to be done. But here in Revit, rooms are not just 4 walls, doors, and windows. The rooms actually mean something extra. Like some computations can be done based on the room. So if I go to room option, there's this room option over here. I can click on the room and then I can just reduce the top offset of the room, like whatever height it is, I can maybe reduce it. And then I can just click here. One of the rooms is created and click here. The other room is also created. Now, the good part is that we do not have any connectivity between the two rooms. So now I need to place a door over here also. Now we have connectivity about the two rooms. But again, continuing with my good part. So the good part is that we'll just be able to write the name of the room just by clicking. So this room would be maybe, let's name it as cabin, and let's name it as workspace. So if it's an office, that this way we can do it. Now, initially, when we are going for drawings, we can go for a hidden line approach. So a hidden line approach will make us make this particular file a working drawing instead of this kind of drawing, presentation drawing. So we can just go for this, and whenever we would like to have anything colored over here, we'll go and then work as a separate, work in a separate way. So if I select the room, the good part again, another good part about this is that cabin 1 is selected, or we can just select the tag and we can schedule it with the help of area or volume. So for MEP engineers, maybe the volume is also important, but for mainly the architects, civil engineers, the room name with the area is more important because they want to have the area of the floor for any kind of tiling work or any other work. So since we have specified this, now we can just directly go and then apply some colors to these rooms. So like we used to go for Photoshop paint bucket tools for presentation drawings, we can directly apply the room colors using a very small and short method that is called color schemes. So if I have a color scheme, I can directly go for rooms option. And you see that Revit has by default applied the rooms with the help of their name, a specific kind of color. So it is this color. If we want to change it, of course, we can change it. And both of these look more or less the same. Let's not go for red. Let's go for something maybe pinkish or whatever, so that we have stark difference between this. And then when we click on OK, and then finally go to annotate, color fill legend, and then place it on the screen. With a few settings, we'll be able to have the entire floor plan as colored. So I am doing with 2 rooms, but of course, if you have more number of rooms, then you'll be able to create it very efficiently. Again, this looks fine, but still it's not that clear because there are too many lines, and these lines are actually overlooking one another. So we need to subdue a few elements, we need to get rid of a few elements, and we need to color a few elements so that our presentation drawings are good. So for that, we will go to visibility graphics, VV, and then we can scroll down to find, let me see. Okay, let's diminish the grids by 50% opacity. So we can go for grids, go for halftone. That's a direct option. We can go for section lines, and we can go for halftone. That's a direct option. And then we can click on apply. So you see immediately the plan overlooking the lines are lesser. Now we need to fix this problem which we saw earlier on, that this column is actually looking a bit weird because it is cut, but it's actually not cut in the same line weight. So how do we fix it? So something called as object style is there, where we can control the line weights of all the objects. I'll go to manage tab. In manage tab, we have the object styles, and we need to find the category. So wall is a category, column is a category. So the wall category has a cut line weight of 3. But the structural column has a cut line weight of 1. So we need to edit this to 3 so that across the entire project, we'll be able to have the same line weight of the wall and the column. So up till this point, I believe most of the things would be clear. Of course, this is a workshop. We have more detailed training courses for all of these things. So we'll discuss that later on. Apart from that, we have selected everything, and we have created 2 rooms, and we have also done the hatch work according to this. But we can use visibility graphics for also coloring the walls for a presentation plan. If we want to color the walls for the presentation plan, we'll just click on the walls, and in the override section, we can override it with a brickwork hatch, which will have a black color. And we can also override it with a solid fill, which will have a reddish color. And once I'm okay with it, I can click on apply and okay. And now you see that all the plans have been colored like this. But do we actually want the rooms, as in, do we actually want the beams to be showing in this floor plan? Not required. I can select the beam. So I can like hit tab. Now this is saying structural framing. I can select it. I can right click it. I can select all the instances visible in the view. And particularly for this view, I can just do hide, element hide. Once I've done element hide, I need to hide my floors as well. Element height for this floor, element height for this floor. So now we have a clean appearance for an architectural presentation plan, and easily anybody will be able to identify that this is the particular plan. Now for some annotations, if I go to the annotate tab, here I have a very good option in Revit, which is missing in all softwares all across the world. So it's a very good thing in Revit that we'll be able to do the dimension of the walls in one go. I'll tell you how. We'll go for align dimension, and we'll change a few settings over here so that we are able to calculate the width openings. And when I select the wall, the entire wall will be named, a dimension rather. So it is actually this easy to create dimension drawings. And now I hope you notice that this wall I had made complete from end to end. And therefore the wall has not taken up this column. Instead, it has taken up the entire thing. But this wall, however, I had made from one column to the other column. And therefore only this portion is. Now let's say we want to center this door. We need not do it manually. We should not just go for left and right clicking. So that becomes difficult. So for that, I can also use the dimension option. I can dimension it from one place to the center of the door to the other face of the column. Okay, again, I'll do it. I have to go for individual references this time. Center, center, and equal. And it's that easy to actually center this. And once I'm through with this, then I'll be able to see that these changes which I have done, I can make a view template out of it and then apply it in the other level also. So right now I only have one level, but I do have a plan which has the presentation drawings. They have some schedules which I would want to discuss just after this. And again, some part of the rendering is left. So we can create few renders which are very easy to create. Of course, this is just a simple 2-unit block. We'll be just able to create a render maybe just by clicking on render. It will be very rough. So I'll just click on RR. That is a shortcut for render. Alternatively, you can go to the view tab and then you have the option for render. And this is an internal render, and therefore the quality will also be a draft quality so that we are able to do it within the time constraint. So this is how a very quick render can be done. And you saw that it just took 5 seconds. Of course, with the increase in the quality, you can go for a printer size, you can go for various pixels and 9.4 MB rendering. So the changes will be there automatically and the good part of the rendering will come up. But again, it would take more time for that. But just to give you an idea, this type of rendering can be done in Revit very easily, and it can be photorealistic also. Now, whatever we have done is in the 2D or you can say the orthogonal views. We can also go for perspective views. So if I just click on perspective, then I'll be able to see this in perspective. If I go to the floor plan, I have the option for creating a camera view. So for that, I can access the 3D view column over here in the quick access toolbar. And there I can use the camera view by placing it here and then looking over on the other side. So this is sort of the interior space. And here, if we have windows and we have sufficient lighting, we'll be able to go for an interior render also. The closest to render is, as I said, realistic view. but some sort of an exposed brick, because we haven't applied plaster yet. So some sort of an exposed brick and concrete type of render can be done over here. So again, if I just go to RR, then I can create a draft quality render out of this. Again, the lighting and all can be done later on also. A good part about this is that the renders will also be a part of the file. So I see that only the window is showing over here. So maybe I need to add some artificial lights. So for that also you can do it. But apart from that, you can just adjust a few small exposure points to make the render brighter. When you apply, now this has become a bit bright. So it's kind of a merge of brightness, contrast, highlights, shadows. How you want to keep it, that's up to you. And even after the render is done, all of these things can be done. So when I click on OK, the very rough kind of render, and the quality is also very poor. But you understand that how the light is entering and how the doors are there, and within such less amount of time, this can be done. So you need to save the render. You need to save it to the project, name the render, maybe interior view. And then you need to just click on OK. And the rendering stays with the file. It's not something which you are saving to some other file like a JPEG. So since it stays with the file, if you send the file to anyone, they'll get the renders also. So especially to the other consultants who want to see how it looks like. So that can be an option. When you close the render, then you can directly go to the 3D views and then look at it like this. So now I'll open a file which has already been done. Of course, it takes time to make these models. So therefore, I chose a very small demonstration. But if you look at some small projects which were done maybe in 3 to 4 days time, or maybe a week's time, so we can get this quality of presentations with very ease. So this is one of the sheets. We have other views also. We have structural plans, we have floor plans in this file. And if we go to the ground floor plan, so we see that this is the reflection. This reflection is basically on the sheet. Apart from that, we have some schedules also. So taking out schedules is also important. And whenever we have tagged our doors like D1, D2, D3, then we'll be able to go for any kind of schedule which is there. So suppose I want to just find out the area of the concrete wall schedule. So a concrete wall schedule has been created, and this concrete wall schedule has all the features as in all the concrete walls in this project. So how do I find out which concrete wall is which? So for that, we need to go to the 3D view. So in the 3D view section in the project browser, if I just double click, then I will be able to see that this is the 3D view. And mind you, this is not a render, just the edges are off, and this is having some shadows and looking very realistic. And apart from that, we can just go to the concrete wall schedule and then open it simultaneously here. And whenever we are selecting anything in the schedule, it is highlighting in this. So if we delete any element from here, then it will automatically get erased from the schedule also. If we change anything over here, so like I reduced the wall, then the area and the volume have changed. If I hit Control Z, then this is saying 10 and this is saying 2.89. So these things change very easily, and it is real-time change. You do not have any kind of lag even with heavy files, and whatever lag is there, it will show as loading, and that also takes a matter of few seconds for heavier files. Apart from that, we are as architects, we are interested in the door window schedule also. So the door window schedule can be taken out very easily with some graphic properties. These schedules, we would like to keep it here only. And see, there are some cost attributes also added here. And according to that, the specific door is there. Again, we have this drywall schedule. We have a glazing wall framing. Then we have a structural column schedule for structural consultants. This may be important. Again, like we have like say 10 columns over here. And if all the columns are same, we may want to just switch off a few things like itemize every instance. We can switch on the grand totals, and then in the formatting, we can just go and then change a few things which will say calculate totals. I think volume is only required. So when I do this, you see that there are some options over here. It is bifurcating according to the level. If we do not want to bifurcate according to the level, we can just go to sorting and grouping and then just go for family and type and then none and then click on OK. So you see that there are two types of columns. Okay, we can switch off the header also. And now it looks fine. There are two types of columns used in this project, and both are of course structural columns. There are 200 by 300 and 200 by 450. And there are we did not have the count for this, but it is of this much area and this is of this much volume and this much volume. So the total is also calculated easily. We can also do some appearances like we had in door schedule over here, as in we can stripe the rows, and with newer versions of Revit, we have more flexibility with the schedules. If we want, we can hide some of the part, but not delete them completely. So again, right click, and then we can just hide the column. So it is just like Excel, but the thing is that some things cannot be changed. So for example, this 2 meter square cannot be changed because it is reading from a specific parameter. This is exterior glazing. So that exterior glazing, if we find that out where it is, then we'll be able to easily see it in the model. Like 2 meter square is what, yeah, let me see, check. It may be somewhere inside the model. And therefore, we aren't able to see it properly. Okay, it's this one, the storefront one. It is this one, and this is 13 meter square. So it is reading from some parameter, and that parameter would be somewhere over here on the properties palette. So we cannot change this. Revit directly takes it up, and therefore our changes are also, or you can say the errors are also omitted. This will read the true value. And when you change the area of this, then obviously this will change. So without spending more time in Revit, I will now jump to how we can collaborate with the other consultants, or how we can add the model to our to a platform called BIM 360. So BIM 360 is basically a platform for uploading your model. It's a drive space. You can upload your model, you can download your model, you can collaborate, you can see some clashes. So all these things are possible in BIM 360. I am jumping onto BIM 360 right now. And for that, I need to open my browser. So when we are in the BIM 360 page, we need to sign in, and that is the docs.b360.autodesk.com. This is BIM 360 docs. Nowadays, ACC is the cloud which we are saving it in. Earlier on, BIM 360 cloud was the cloud. And we can easily go for the email ID, which is there for Autodesk. It's an Autodesk registered ID. It may be your Gmail ID. It may be your other types of IDs. And then you can directly sign in with your password. And of course, I can stay signed in. And once I've signed in, it will directly take me to a project. So in BIM 360, we are going to upload as per a project. And then we are going to see how that project pans out. So I'm going to go for a sample project. For example, as a part of some training, we have done this project, and this project has some files which have been uploaded. So these are all the files which have been uploaded to this drive space. So what makes it special is that we'll be able to do some of the things apart from some regular drive spaces like Google Drive and OneDrive. So if we see on the left-hand side, we have all the files and folders. Actually, the files are on the right-hand side. In the left-hand side, we have the folders as per the design stage. So if I go for the concept, I can go for the work in progress architecture. And here I have the architecture model. Whenever I'm uploading again and again after changes, it will tell me that this is version number 8 of that file. The good part about it is that even without having Revit in our system, someone can view the file. They won't be able to make changes to the file, but they can definitely view the file. So this is the file which we have uploaded over here. It's a residence file, and we'll be able to easily navigate through this file with ease. And when we navigate through the file, we'll be able to do most of the things which the reviewers need, like we can go for section analysis. We can add a section box. We can see what is happening in that particular level. Apart from that, we can measure a particular portion. So if I click on the measure tool, I can measure the distance, I can measure the area, angle, and I can just directly go over here and maybe I want to just check the height of this. It's 1 feet 2 inches. So I have this option. Then apart from that, I have the option for just going inside the model as a first person. So the first person view is good over here so that we are able to walk through the model without actually having to open it in Revit. Now walking through the model is not just for animation. We can now use the measure tool, and then if we think that anything is not fine over here, then we can communicate it to some other person. So suppose I think that this 0.8 feet, or in if I want to see this 250 is probably less in depth. So I would want to know some of the parameters of this particular object. Then I can just click on the object and hit the properties section. If this object is from a BIM software like Revit or BIM oriented tool like Revit, then we are going to have these options over here directly taken up from Revit. So it will tell us the beam cut length. It will tell us all the parameters over here, including the volume. And without having Revit, we'll be able to do this. So a good part of this is that we are able to see and review what is there. If we think it's fine, then it's okay. What if we think that it is not fine? Then how do we communicate with the others? So in a conventional workflow, you used to take out printouts, and then after printouts, you need to take that to your project lead, and the project lead will check it. And if you yourself are the project lead, your juniors will bring the sheet to you. You will mark some changes, then again they'll go back and do the changes, again they'll share the model. So those kind of information are siloed, or you can say separate. You have one model where you are doing something, you have one 2D file, you have one 3D file, you have separate softwares, and any kind of change will be have to be done everywhere. So here the good part is that we have some option called markups. So the same thing which you used to do on paper, you can do on cloud, as in you can do in the cloud space. So BIM 360 is basically a cloud space only. And in this cloud, we are saving some of the files, and we can just write maybe that, please review this. And whoever has the access to this portal, they'll be able to see this. And once they are able to see this, they will be able to make those particular changes by downloading the model. And then they'll be able to make those changes again by uploading it back and then notifying the person who has made this that, okay, this is done, please check, something like that. I can exit the markup view. And even if I get out of this, maybe I fitted this to the view. Then if I say click this, then it will automatically show me that this is the portion where the changes need to be made. Another good part about this is that we are going to go to 3D view. We also have the sheets. So there are no items in this sheet right now. But if there were sheets over here in this model, then there would be multiple sheets which will open up over here. So I may have some sheets over here. So let me see. The work in progress architecture. Maybe in the design development stage, I have some sheets over here in the model. Yeah, so I have it over here. If I select the sheet, then I'll be able to see the entire thing. And again, if I just want to split the view where I want to see the sheet and I want to see the model, then I'll be able to see both the things at the same time. And when I'll be able to see both the things at the same time, I may be able to decide faster. I can do the same thing of markup over here. Like I can just select the markup, I can do a cloud and then write something over here and it will get saved. And the second person who has to solve this, they will solve this. Apart from markup, there is another important point, that is the issues. So issues are more specific. The markups you are just creating for someone to view. You can write the name, of course. But when we go for issues, they are more specific in that sense that you can assign that issue to someone. So for example, I want to assign this issue to say Purnima. So I can easily go and then write the title. And if she is in the project, I'll be able to assign it to her directly. And when I use the title, so let me assign it to someone who is already there in the project, maybe Pallavi. And again, I can write the title as maybe maybe wall correction or anything. It can be a very generic kind of an issue. It can be a very specific kind of an issue. Ideally, in projects, we have specific issues only. When does Pallavi need to solve this issue by? She wants to solve this by 26th of June. She has to solve it rather. So this is the deadline which I have given her. If she defaults, then I'll be able to, catch hold of her and then get the work done. So root cause, I can say maybe design deficiency. And I can just write something over here and then just go for create. So this is the part of BIM 360 docs, which is very good because once we have created multiple issues, the reviewer who is actually looking after the project, sometimes the BIM manager, sometimes the project lead, they will be able to, go for the issues, and all the active issues will be shown over here. If I switch off the filtering, then some of the issues which were there. So suppose there is an issue of clash door. There's an issue of shaft door opening for service. There's an issue of this. So all the dates which they have crossed will be written in red. All the dates which are ahead, maybe then they'll be written in gray. And of course, once the issue is closed, then that will obviously display in gray, even if this is not done. And then of course, we can go to the folders and then use the upload button to upload files. We can create some drawing sets. And then we can also look at the things in 3D and 2D both. So we have the BIM model folder also over here. So this is the federated model. This federated model will have the structure, architecture, MAP, everything included over here. But right now only the structure and architecture has been incorporated over here. So apart from this, I believe we have covered most of the part of this software also in a much speedy way, of course. So we have lots of services also which we can open. One last thing which I would want to say before I hand it over to Gulista is that we have a feature called model coordination as a part of another package of BIM 360. Model coordination becomes important when we need to do clash detection. So if I go for clash detection, and in this project, I have uploaded the models, then I'll be able to see all the clashes in color coded way, where in blue, in green, in red, I'll be able to see what is clashing with what. So for example, I want to see the clash test of this model, which is the structure and architecture model. So I see that there are various clashes over here, and most of the clashes may be due to some very small mistakes, like for example, this wall is actually going below the floor. If I click on this wall option, and it will tell me that how many clashes it is actually taking up. So it is taking up 3 clashes, or maybe more, 4 clashes. So either we can report this as not an issue, or we can create an issue out of it and then assign it to someone for them to solve. So ideally, clash detection is a part of Navisworks where we can set tolerances also. But here, if for general BIM workflow, this is also good. So why is this considered as a clash? This is because a part of the railing is actually entering inside the wall. It's a very minute clash, and this minute clash is also read by something in the software. So it's kind of AI only. We are not doing anything, but it is reading it. So this is one of the parts which BIM 360 is good at, and this is BIM Collaborate Pro rather. The earlier one was BIM 360 Docs, which I was sharing just before this. And all these features are actually available with the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And if any time we need to do any kind of collaboration, coordination, BIM 360 is the best way to go about it. So again, I'll ask you to just stop me and then ask a few questions. So if there are any questions, then it's great. I'll solve them, or else we can have a question answer round maybe just after a few more sessions of Gulista. So any questions before I stop the screen share? So this was a very general overview. Right. So I think I can hand it over to Gulista then.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you.
Share my screen. Okay, go to AC connection. Okay, so you have been seeing about BIM overview, mostly Revit, and then you have seen Autodesk Doc Collection. So what is all these software? These are the parts of AC collection basically. So Revit is like a main software, you can say, like a hero product and docs, and there are many other software for design, simulate, and visualize coordinate for different things. So there are softwares like Formit Pro, Insights, Readiness, there are many more. So for example, if you want to use AutoCAD and Revit together, so it will be better to like get AC collection instead of getting AutoCAD and Revit separately. It will be like better financially and technically both. So if you want to know more about AC collection, you can like ask in Q&A session, or maybe you can send us an email. We can send you the details. And so if you use AC collection, there are a lot of capabilities. Of course, different softwares have different like some special features. So if you use like collection, you can do different things and different software, and it still be get connected, like work together. Still, like you can use sketching and massing and documentation, visualization, and many more things. And since there are many capabilities of this collection, there are many business benefits as well because of that. For example, now a lot of projects and companies are doing like BIM is a mandate. So if you are using BIM, then there are more chances to win more work, and it is also improving your operational efficiency because a lot of people are working together on one model, so you save a lot of time. So since you save a lot of time, the project is going to more sustainable as well, since you will not like there will be more there will be less material loss and all these kind of things, so it will be more sustainable as well, and also it reduces risk as well because you are seeing everything on in computer first, like digital twin and everything, so you know the problems and you can solve it earlier, then it reduces the risk. So this was all about AC collection. So if you have any questions, you can ask in Q&A session, which is like open now. You can ask anything related to Revit or BIM or AEC. So you can ask, and if you have any question later on, you can send us an email. We will reply. So if anyone have any question, they can ask. If not, then uh,
One more time I'd like to ask, does anyone have any questions relating to training or possibly about Revit or softwares or purchasing things? Let us know, please. Okay, then I believe nobody has no questions. We'd like to thank you for joining the session and hope the session was wonderful for you and it was insightful for you. If you have any sort of questions or things, let us know. You can mail us to connect@Capricorn. I'll mention that in the chat box. So I have sent the email ID. You can connect individually to the email ID sent. Thank you so much for joining in.